Hey, it's John from Tech Today. So how's that for a quick turnaround time? We've got the product out there in beta. We're calling it T2DPulse. You can try it out now, give us feedback. We welcome any feedback. So we built this tool with the technology investor in mind, but frankly, if you are a technology executive, a board member, you can leverage the tool as well. And so just to sort of recap from our earlier podcast a few hours ago, we pull through APIs data from the Federal Reserve, from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and there are hundreds of data streams, and we just pull in 7 or 8 here. If there are other data streams from those entities that you would like to see, let us know, because we could flex this tool. It's highly extensible. But for now, we're pulling GDP as measured by year-over-year change in GDP. We're pulling the unemployment rate. Inflation is measured by CPI. Market data, specifically the NASDAQ composite. PPI data for software publishers and for data processing. And Fed funds rate. And so those are the contributing factors, as you see here on the left. And if you sort of scroll down, it shows you what each of those factors, we're calling them key indicators here: percentage change in GDP, unemployment. So we have sort of the latest readings on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side here is how those readings have changed since the prior measurement period. So for most of these, it's monthly. NASDAQ, it's daily. And so to gauge sort of our tech economy sentiment, what we do is we have assigned weightings to these different measures. But we really built the tool so that you, the user, can assign your own weighting. So, for example, if you're a portfolio manager and you're trying to think about macro and you're thinking about, hey, do our estimates going to come down for our portfolio holdings? Should we be thinking about revising our estimates down? Never mind, waiting for companies to report. And so you want to gauge what's going on, in terms of macro. So you can take the elements that we collect and assign, sort of a weighting. And for each person, those weightings could be different. For GDP, unemployment, you may feel differently about how you want to weight these items at that moment in time that you're doing the analysis. And you want your weightings to roll up to 100%, obviously. The way I talked about it a few hours ago, and the way I think about it is, I'd give more of a weighting toward the macro data that's software related, if I'm a software or a tech PM or analyst, and I'd probably de-emphasize the sort of the non-industry macro elements like GDP, unemployment, CPI, and so you could sort of play with these weights. And then the piece where you can bring your own data into the tool as a user is, and I've already brought in a document here, but you can select a document. So let's just do it again. This is a file that we generated at Tech Today based on some transcripts earlier in the week. You'd apply your analysis to it. And we give that document that you upload a sentiment score. So let's say, for example, you're a portfolio manager, you attended a Goldman conference last week, and you met with 50 companies. And you took 20 pages of notes. Well, you could upload that document to our tool, and based on your comments, we would assign a sentiment score to that document. So if it's positive comments in the aggregate about companies, you'd have a higher score. Maybe you'd be at 70 or 80. Negative commentary, it's doom and gloom, maybe you'd be at 30. And here in this document that we uploaded, which was sort of an analysis that we did on the JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America calls from the past week, the score is neutral, actually right down the middle at 50. And depending upon how you feel about that document that you upload, maybe you say, hey, I've got a lot of really good data here. You would assign a higher weighting to that document. If you said, hey, it's just sort of 1 or 2 data points and I didn't really get anything good out of the meeting, maybe you'd assign a much lower value to the weighting or no weighting. Right, so let's just say you had sort of a 10% weighting on the thing. So you get 10% for your proprietary data. And by the way, we don't store this on our end. It's just sort of cached in your browser, so it's local. So 10% for your data, 90% for the macro stuff up here. You'd apply the weightings, and then we roll that up into a all-inclusive sentiment. Right, and so 51.6 on the scale of 0 to 100 is moderate growth, and his sort of how the numbers translate. 80 to 100 is boom times, 60 to 79 is expansion, moderate growth, slowdown, contraction. You can see that here. It's sort of self-explanatory. But that's sort of the tool as it stands now, T2DPulse. So we'd love to hear your feedback on it. We'd love if you'd kick the tires on it. That's all for now. See you next time.